something like Samuel Johnson is very dear to my heart, and whether people come and see the show or not, I've got to do it. I've got so much I've got to say about him, and I'm so passionate about the man and so keen to spread the word of one of the, not only the greatest minds that Britain has ever produced, the man who wrote the dictionary, as you may know, the first real usable English dictionary in 1750, which means that the language we now speak every day without even thinking was defined by this one man. And he had all these achievements that he did, and yet he's largely unknown. If you ask most people, if you asked me 10 years ago, do you know about Samuel Johnson? People go, oh, is he the man who invented baby powder? So this is Samuel Johnson. Most people, if they know him at all, it's from Blackadder. There's an episode of Blackadder where he appears as a kind of grotesque, well, he was grotesque, but as a kind of ludicrous figure. And that's how he's generally played. There was a really good show about 2 years ago, here at Edinburgh, which Stuart Lee wrote, called Boswell and Johnson Late and Live, which was very, very entertaining, but didn't really go into Johnson's life and philosophy. And I thought, well, there is an opportunity for me, because this year, 2009, viewers, it's the 300th anniversary of Samuel Johnson's birth, his tercentenary, if you want to use a big word for it, which seems appropriate with him. And I thought, well, this is the year to do Samuel Johnson, to spread the word, try and encourage people to go out and buy his books and read him, because I think he's one of the most useful philosophers, practically useful, because he gives you lots of good advice about how our minds work, how we think, the things that still trip us up today after all these years. People haven't really changed very much in 300 years, you'll find out. I suppose the reason a lot of my shows concentrate on people who are no longer with us is because they can't sue. Well, you know, nobody can come back and say, oh, if you do a show about somebody who's still alive, then, you know, they might well, you know, get prickly. And even someone who's dead, like Noel Coward, the other show I'm doing this year is a show where I sing Noel Coward songs for an hour or so. Very different kind of show from Samuel Johnson. Well, it's a show called David Benson Sings Noel Coward, which is cheek, really, that I am coming out there and singing his songs. But I did play Noel Coward on telly in a show called Goodnight Sweetheart, which is still shown on ITV3 on a kind of loop. 4 o'clock in the morning, you might see me playing Noel Coward. I get a cheque for £3.36 every 6 months, you know. But I did play him on telly, and so I thought, well, let's do a show where we just do Noel Coward songs. And so it's me and my pianist, Stuart Nichols. It's a blast. It's like a party with Noel Coward songs, and me as the centre of attention. It's the kind of party I like. Very different kind of show from Samuel Johnson. And there you have the estate of Noel Coward, who keep a very close eye on any shows that are done in his name, using his material, and will not hesitate to shut you down if they don't like it. So there are problems there. But the show about ghosts I did back in 2004 at Assembly, and that was an attempt again to exorcise a few of my own demons. And particularly, it was really about my grandfather more than anyone else, who was a great teller of ghost stories. And when we were children, he used to tell us these stories as if they were true. And I found out years later, from M.R. James, some of the classic, he told me that once he'd been staying in a hotel in Norfolk by the sea, and it was winter, you know, middle of winter. He'd been for a long walk, and at dusk he was walking on the beach, and he found a whistle sticking out of the ground, which had an inscription on the side, and he in Latin, and he took it back to his hotel, cleaned it off, and found that it said, the words were engraved on the side, "Who is this who is coming?" So what do you think he did? He blew the whistle. Would you have done that, Valerie? Would you have blown that whistle? I wouldn't. Well, he did, so he told me, and after that, he was pursued by strange wraith-like figures on the beach, and the spare bed in his room rustled during the night, and the sheets were all mussed up in the morning, and there was nobody there to have done it. And he told me, I found out it's actually a story called Whistle I'll Come to You, My Life by M.R. James, but he told me as if it actually happened to him, which is brilliant, because, you know, all ghost stories, you must believe that they could have happened. They're no good if they're too fantastical. They have to be rooted in possibility, like jokes. Would I come back as a ghost and haunt the Edinburgh Fringe? Well, I feel like I already am haunting it in a way before I've died. You know, I'm always here. As Quentin Crisp said, another great philosopher like Samuel Johnson, the worst thing you could wish on your worst enemy is eternal life. The idea that you're never done with it. You know, and what really I think makes life bearable is knowing that it's finite. There is going to come a point when we can say, well, I've done my bit now. I can retire to the grave, satisfied. Suddenly you might just be enjoying your eternal sleep, and then bloody Derek Acora rings up and says, come back and come on, appear on television. Imagine that.
Show next year, something on Derek Acora.
Well, people have suggested I do a show about Derek Acora. But again, he's still very much in the land of the living, and I wouldn't want to tread on his spooky old toes.